Hey friends, I was just on Twitter and I was looking at uh, somebody tweeted about Henry Poincar, I don't know how to pronounce his name, about how he used to work in 4 hours a day. So he'd work from 10 to 12 in the morning and 5 to 7 in the afternoon, and that he found that working longer seldom achieved anything. And I agree. I remember I have a tweet from a while back and I might as well just read it out, where I was replying to someone in my Discord. And I said, over the years, I've come to believe that I can only be seriously productive for 4 hours a day max. I hardly ever even reach that. Um, if I'm lucky, most days I'm truly productive for maybe an hour. Often there are days where I'm not productive at all, even if I'm technically working all day. And so that's how I try to frame things. 4 hours of being productive, everything else is free for whatever personal time, friends, family. And the trick is to spend a few minutes retrospectively analyzing the end of each day. And eventually the data becomes hard to argue with. I barely took any vacation days when I was working at my last job, and I regret that so much because, especially during the pandemic, like traveling wasn't even an option anymore. So there's a bunch of travel I could have done theoretically, but I didn't because I was scared of missing out on work. It's nonsense. I realized it didn't make me more productive, and I can see clearly now that I would have been more productive with breaks. And the thing about overworking yourself is that it's like getting drunk. You don't realize how bad it's getting when you're going too far. Yeah, so I wrote those. I wrote that message to my friend in 2020. That's 2 years ago. And now I wouldn't claim that I've really internalized that properly. I do feel like I, where am I going with this? I understand, I have an understanding of what I think is good, but I am not living up to it in a sense. And I just wanted to reflect on this because I do feel like I there's something here that I need to process. There's something here that I need to get through, which is and someone replied to one of my tweets when said, the cool thing is, I'm paraphrasing. If you work a few intense hours a day and then you switch off, you kind of subconsciously will still be thinking about it out of like curiosity, interest, like just be daydreaming a little bit about your stuff. Whereas if you've been exhausting yourself working on the thing, then in my experience, I'm paraphrasing. In my experience, you just want to get away from it. You like your subconscious is burdened and tired from your material and wants to get lost. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. That's quite funny, right? Like it's almost like romantic courtship where you spend a few really intense have really intense chemistry with someone. You really kind of look them in the eye. You pay attention to their body language. You mirror them. You really, I don't mean mirror in like a sleazy, stupid way. I mean like just really vibing. You're really in tune. You really feel in simpatico, right? You really feel like the electric connection, and that's intense. You can't keep that going for like all day. Like it's alertness and clarity. And if you've shared something like that with someone over a brief period of time, hour, a couple of hours maybe, or sometimes even like 20 minutes, or less, and if you have that with someone, you'll be thinking about them all day. The rest of the like sometimes you think about them months later, right? Like some really intense moment you had with a stranger or whoever. On the other hand, if you spend all day with someone and you're just kind of lingering in each other's presence, you just get annoyed and frustrated with each other. And when I made that comparison, I realized, oh shit, I am not giving myself space to breathe creatively. I'm suffocating myself creatively. And why do I do that? Fear, right? What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of not being creative. I'm afraid of not living up to my potential. I'm afraid of not becoming successful fast enough. And when I say these things out loud, it's funny because I know I've been through all this stuff decades now, right? I've been thinking about it for years and years. I've done the reading, I've done the work, I've published stuff, I've had ebbs and flows in my publishing and writing. And there is, the neediness that I used to have at work where I felt like I needed to be there all the time so that I wouldn't slip. I'm doing the same thing with myself. And I would like to correct this, and I've said I would like to correct this many many times, but every attempt contributes to an understanding that then gets better at resolving it, right? So yeah, when I was working on introspect, I beat myself up too much for that book. I shipped it. I wrote an essay called "I Don't Wanna" to. I mean, even in the book itself, in introspect, I think I conveyed here and there that I beat myself up too much to write that book. I wouldn't say it's like like danger red zone, but I was like in the yellow zone. And I would like a life of creativity without much time spent in the yellow zone. The green zone is where it's at. You want to flourish in the green zone, and then you want to stop, and then you want to move on and get away from it. And David Ogilvy has this thing where he works very hard, and then he completely deactivates, completely shuts off, goes to like the countryside, thinks nothing, spaces out, and that sounds so beautiful to me. And so it's dawning on me again uh, that to say that I just need to give myself a break, get away from things, all of that. That's easy to say. The thing to get to is the underlying thing, right? Like, so overwork is a coping mechanism. It's a load bearing coping mechanism. And when I say overwork, I don't even mean doing a lot of work, right? Like just putting your body in the chair, staring at the screen is a coping mechanism. What is the load that load bearing coping mechanism is bearing? For me, I must be. I'm still punishing myself for what I thought I needed to be punished for, which was what? Playing? Shirking my responsibilities? Yeah, I think when I was a kid, adults in my life told me that I was irresponsible. And I agreed with their assessment. I agreed that I was an irresponsible child and teenager. And I did not want to be an irresponsible adult. And I have tried my best to be responsible. And the funny thing, so this is the thing that I've, you know, being responsible is not a matter of how many hours you spend in the chair, right? But I guess when I was a kid, I used to want to get away from the chair, the desk, right? I used to want to get away from the desk. I wanted to cut class, leave school, goof off with my friends, and I associated that stuff with negativity. Like I was, I felt like I was wasting my time. So I agreed with the assessment from my parents and teachers, whatever. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time, right? And I'm like, okay, I will never waste my time again. And so all my time is to be devoted to what is quote unquote important. I don't not all of me believes that. So the my saving grace is that I am an entity comprised of many different subselves, and like there's a part of me that is okay, all my time is gonna go into my desk, my table, my work. And there's another part of me that's like, fuck that, screw you, I'm gonna do some random nonsense. And I'm so grateful to my random nonsense self, because I would be fucked up if I only had that. I got a lot more to think about this, but yeah, I feel like something shifted. It's not the first time I've come to this place. So how do I make it last? Um, yeah, think about the 4-hour rule thing. Think about the question I had that shook me up was, why do I not trust myself? And I feel ask myself what does being responsible mean, right? And I think a question that came up later was, um, what exactly what am I punishing myself for? What is a crime that I seem to think that I've committed that I need to atone for, right? What's the damage? What is my atonement for? I feel like I've been atoning for a long time. I have. I have been I want to say I'm done, but I don't think I am. I want to say and now I forgive myself. I relieve myself of this pain. It's all gone. I'm done. But it's not. It's still there. I think for me to really make progress on this, I have to write it out. I have to think it out. I have to feel it out. Right. I have to really dig into this question of my relationship with responsibility and what it means to take care of myself, take care of business, take care of my wife, like be a responsible person. What does responsibility mean? Right, I gotta ask myself that. Anyway, it's been 11 minutes, and thank you for listening. I will think about this more, and yeah, done. See you soon.